Hi, welcome, welcome. Hello, YouTube family. Welcome to Radiant and on the Rise. On this channel, we connect to our radiance. We remember that we have always been more than enough. So if you're a creative yogi, if you're an empath, if you're a leader of love, and you want to, I don't know, maybe you've been going through some stuff as of late. We might be familiar with this term compassion fatigue, and I want to break that down for you in a moment. But if you're somebody who feels like your empathy has gotten the best of you, meaning you just feel depleted and tired and overwhelmed, and are tired of being on the emotional roller coaster of your feelings of okayness being dictated by others and how they're doing, then this video is for you. I want to dispel compassion fatigue is actually not quite right. And you might have heard this term compassion fatigue. It's especially something that's used now in for frontline workers, right? Let me back up a little bit and say, first of all, we're all going through, and we're in a big T trauma. We're in shock trauma. Actually, there's like different types of trauma. And when we have a trauma like the one that we've all been going through with COVID, no one knew it was coming. And yet it impacted deeply everyone's life. And it continues to be nebulous and kind of uncertain, what's to come. It's important for us all to just acknowledge that we've been through it and we're going through it, and not to bypass this, not to discount the impact that it's had on all of us. So if you're grumpier than usual, if you've been depressed, if you've been anxious, all of that, there's no way that part of that isn't due to what we've been experiencing globally with COVID. Yeah, take a breath with that. Hopefully just the acknowledgement of the collective suffering can open us up to some compassion. And this talk is really about compassion for ourselves. And the most important thing you want to remember in finding relief from empathic distress, which is more correct than compassion fatigue. Compassion is not fatiguing. Compassion is not fatiguing. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. Undiscerned empathy, meaning undifferentiated empathy, is fatiguing. Meaning, I'll just give an example from my own life. I'm a coach, right? I'm a mentor. I work with people. My medicine is mindfulness, and I help people heal on a daily basis. And sometimes I can find myself getting caught up in the distress that somebody else is experiencing. Like, part of my work is in attuning and having compassion for my clients. But if I start to notice that I'm crossing over into taking responsibility for their feelings, trying to fix them so I can feel better, as if their feelings, I'm responsible for them, right? We can get into this sort of, like, you might do it with friends, loved ones, partners, where it's like we think that we're responsible for how they think, what they feel. If something goes wrong, automatically it's all our fault. These are signs of empathic distress. We get overwhelmed by the troubles or whatever the suffering another human is going through, and we might act out to try to fix it. That's a good indication that we are in suffering if we're reaching out to fix it. If we have a hard time just letting it go, if we find that we're perseverating or ruminating about it after, I could talk more and more about this, but I'm going to leave it at that. Those are indications that we're in empathic distress, and we need to differentiate, meaning I need to remember where I end and you begin. Your feelings are not my feelings, and I can have compassion for you. I can have compassion and empathy for you without getting overwhelmed. I can have compassion and empathy for you and because I have compassion, I can wish for your well-being. I can actually do what I can to help if that's what's wanted and needed. When we're overwhelmed with distress, we can't do either. So the thing I really wanted to mention here that was like, as long as I've been studying and practicing compassion as a Buddhist practitioner, I feel like it's fine. Part of it's finally clicking for me. This is the piece that is so important for us to remember if we want to differentiate from another and we want to experience our empathy through compassion and not through distress. It's really important that we recognize in that moment when there's another and they're going through something hard, there's something in us that comes up. And in that moment, we need to acknowledge, oh, I am suffering here. I'm suffering here. It's no longer about them. It's about me and what's going on with me in relationship to this other person. And if we're feeling like if we get triggered, right, we feel anxious, we feel helpless, we feel enraged, we have to pause and notice that that is a moment of suffering, that that's a moment, our moment of pain, and that the being in that moment that most needs our love and affection is us. But we can't grant that if we don't catch it, if we don't see it as a moment of suffering, our suffering. And when we see that and we acknowledge that, the heart of compassion naturally wants to extend itself. It naturally wants to help. We actually have phrases of equanimity and compassion and loving kindness, and joy. These are the 4 Brahma Viharas. And compassion is metta, compassion. And sometimes if someone else is suffering, it can be like, oh, may they be at peace. May they find relief from the suffering. Compassion has us taking action or not. There's a wisdom to compassion. And it doesn't at all lend the heart to feeling defeated. It actually breaks the heart open. And we feel energized and altruistic rather than depleted and self-absorbed. So in that moment of distress, whatever you're experiencing in relationship to another, interrupting that by coming back home to what you're going through and acknowledging it as being a painful moment in your experience. Oh, I'm feeling angry. Oh, I'm feeling hopeless and helpless. I don't know how to help this person. That's you. That's how you're feeling. It's and tending to that, recognizing that, naming it is 99% of it. And this is the number one most essential thing for transforming empathic distress into compassion. And let me know what about this video served you. You can comment below and share this. If you're not part of our community, click the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video. Sending love and blessings.